The Choir Room Project by Debbie Anna Skinner. 10 years ago, I was commissioned by a church music ministry to create several large canvas wall hangings for their choir room. And here's a couple of those that they're out on the floor at this point, but I had a lot of fun making these, and I was so excited when they contacted me about doing some more for the choir room. And there are a lot of reasons for that. One, I'm a choir girl, and I have been ever since I sang in the primary children's choir in the church where I grew up. I'm also a pianist. I love piano music. I love vocals. And when it comes to choir, I think of choir as being my team sport. And I also love church. I love the people inside most of all, but I love church buildings, particularly stained glass. And the stained glass in the sanctuary of this church that commissioned the work served as the inspiration for the design in the background of these wall hangings. So I got to set up my impromptu studio in the choir room, and I got to work. I pulled out the paints, trying to use the ones that I used previously, and I used a very kind of limited number of brands of acrylic paint, and so that was easy to replicate that and find the colors I'd used before. I just had maybe, I think, one color I had to have mixed for this project. And at first, once I drew off the design and started to paint, the project was actually done in acrylic paint. But my style with acrylics is to treat them a lot like watercolor. So if some of the colors touched each other, I didn't fight it, but I would just let the paints kind of mix with one another as they wanted. And I think you get some really cool textures when that happens. Once the colors were applied, I filled in the black between the blocks of color to look like the leading in a stained glass window. And it amazes me how when you add in that dark, that black contrast really makes the color start to pop. Here's one of the finished panels, and the key words on the two panels this time were, one was the word vocals, and the next was the word visuals. And it was to be a reminder to the singers that as we sing in choir as worship leaders, we communicate in two different levels. We communicate through the sound of our voices, that's the vocals, but also visually we communicate through the expression on our faces. So if you happen to be in a church choir, you might want to keep this in mind, and as I have to every week as I'm singing, is there's vocals and visuals. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed this, just a recent project, and I thank you so much for taking the time to watch. And if you're in a choir, happy singing.